This meeting is being recorded by the Community Preservation Committee. If any other persons present doing the same, you must notify the chairperson at this time. Okay. Seeing none, we will move on. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to call the roll call of the members. Okay, Donna is not present at this moment. Wisty?
Yeah, here.
Garth's not here. Sarah?
Here.
Becky?
Yes.
Travis?
Here.
Jack?
Here.
And I am here, so we have a quorum. So let's just move this thing forward here. All right. Go to the approval of the minutes. Do we need to do them individually or can we do them as a group?
Yeah, unless there's edits to them, you can do them all together.
Okay. What I would like to suggest is that we have a motion to do all 3 minutes, all 3 sets of minutes, and then if we need to, we can separate them out. And there's Donna. Welcome, Donna.
Hello.
We're just about to do the approval of the minutes. So if I can have a motion to approve the minutes and a second, then we can move forward. And there's Garth.
Okay, I'll move to approve all 3 right now.
Okay. Do I have a second? Okay, second from Donna. Okay, any discussion about any of the individual minutes? Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, that was more of a question than a second because I was going to abstain on one of them because I was not there. So does that
Okay.
mean I abstain on all of them or?
You're welcome to abstain if you really feel you need to, but you are perfectly allowed to vote on minutes for meetings you weren't at. That's allowable.
Okay,
If you wish to, but you can always abstain if you wish as well.
okay.
Okay. I'd just like to make a comment. Sarah, those were amazing.
Thank you.
They really were. It's not just that everything is there from my perspective, but the organization of them was really, really good.
Oh, good.
Really helpful. So thank you.
I kind of follow the agenda and keep it consistent, so.
You did a
you.
great job. Truly a
Thank you.
great job. Does anybody have any other comments?
We hit the jackpot with Sarah as
We
clerk.
did,
for
we
sure.
did. We did. She can't leave. She's not allowed. She's got to be here forever.
My head is gonna be so big when I leave.
No, I was just.
Thank
gonna
you, guys.
second that. Yeah, thank you, Sarah.
Any other comments or changes on the minutes? Seeing none, I'm going to bring this to a vote. Okay, here we go. Donna,
Yes.
Wisty,
Yeah.
Gareth,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Becky,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay, moving forward. We have no public either here or on screen, so there's no public comment. New business.
Yes.
That's not true. Becky's cat is in the.
Becky, does Kat want to say anything, Becky? Okay.
So yeah, first item on the new business is the amended Greenfield Public Library application. When I was putting together the packet to submit to City Council, I noticed that the line items for the Greenfield Public Library's budget didn't actually add up to the 7,000 that was appropriated. It was actually a few thousand off. So I reached out to Anna from the library to check in on that. And she said she definitely intended for it to be 7,000 and she wasn't sure why it didn't add up, but she submitted an amended application where the line items do add up to 7,000. The main thing being the number of hours expected for the consultant went up. She did say that if they don't end up using all of the funds, they'll, just like CPA law requires, they'll go back into the pool. So yeah, that's the sitch. And if you guys just vote to approve the application with this amended application, basically exactly what we did at the last meeting, but with this version, and then it'll be good to go to City Council.
Any questions or comments on this? We're moving along real fast. Okay. Can I get a motion then to approve the amendment of the amended budget for the library?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve the amended application of the Greenfield Public Library as presented by Christian.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Garth. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to move to a vote. Here we go. Donna,
Yes.
Wisty,
Yes.
Garth,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Becky,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay,
Great. So yeah, this will be the version that gets submitted to city council.
okay, 2026 Community Preservation Committee budget.
Yes. So every year the committee votes on a budget. The budget is basically at this point just saying where the revenues that are going to come in during fiscal year 2026 and telling the accountant where they should go. Obviously, you have to reserve at least 10% for each category. Last year, the committee decided to allocate an increased amount for the housing reserve up to 30%. And reducing the amount that goes into the budgeted reserves, which is the undesignated / flexible account that we refer to sometimes. You can use up to 5% for administrative costs. We have traditionally put the maximum 5% into that, even though for the most part, we only use a couple thousand out of it, just in case there's some real need for some severe legal advice or other kind of studies that we wouldn't expect to come up, but potentially could. So keeping that there just in case. The local surcharge amount expected to be gathered during, oh, this should be 26. Look at
Mm,
that. During fiscal year 2026 is 240,000. I received that number from our accountant, city accountant. The state match is expected to be 15%. That's a conservative estimate based on what the Department of Revenue, the Massachusetts Department of Revenue has said. It will probably be a few points higher. So the total expected to be collected is 276,000. And then it's split into all of the various categories from there. So this is the breakdown. The actual budget is this document. This is what your official looking budget is, but the other one just looks nicer. So if you do a motion to approve the budget as presented, unless there's any amendments you'd like to make, then we can submit it to city council via the mayor.
Any questions, comments?
Move to submit the budget as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh,
Thank you.
we have 3 seconds. You can choose who you want. Okay, is there any discussion? Go ahead, Becky.
Yes, I had a question. Does that mean that we are locked into spending those amounts in those areas?
We are
27,000,
It's at least that much.
at least that much. Okay.
Yeah. And then if we don't spend it, it rolls over to the next year in that category. If we spend less than the 27,600, let's say we spend 14,000, the 13,000 would roll over for open space for the next year. It would not go into the budget reserves. It would be
Okay.
continue in that category.
In that category. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
And usually the way we spend the money is we start off with those categories, and there's usually enough request so that we end up expending them, which is why this past couple of weeks ago, I was talking about how we could spend it on anything this year, and that was unusual because it was all rolled over from the reserves. I do have one question, which it's probably fairly obvious, but in addition, when we decide to buy signs and banners and stuff that says this project was brought to you by, your tax dollars at work, that comes out of administrative, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
And we will be, I have on the agenda for April, talking about the signs and banners and such. So we can decide whether we want to continue with what we have or whether we want to do something more splashy or whatever. So we can figure that one out. Becky?
What else comes out of the administrative budget?
Printing, when we print the flyers to advertise the feedback sessions, the annual fee that goes to the Community Preservation Coalition, which is technically optional, but it's great to be able to give them that, that fee because they provide a lot of services to the city. I've called them up so many times. And I don't think a single time yet I've got their voicemail. Every single time I either get Stuart or Chase from the Community Preservation Coalition to answer questions about Community Preservation Act stuff.
Oh,
Which
speaking of,
actually reminds me, yeah, that I had that question at our last meeting about whether we could actually make a larger donation to more money than they asked for. Were you able to get that question answered? For the rental assistance?
I thought the question, that was the question about giving more money to an applicant than they've requested. I have not answered that question yet, but it's on my tasks to check in once we get through this submission process. Yeah.
Okay, anything more about the budget and what we are planning to do?
If I could just, one other thing for the administrative expenses that we haven't done, but we could do at some point is if we are requesting that people install permanent signage, does that come out of our administrative expenses? We would purchase the sign and they would install it?
So the way it's written in the grant agreement that all of the applicants sign is that if they do have a permanent sign that lists any donors at all, that the CPC has to be on there and be acceptable to the CPC. So it's not required for them to have a sign that lists donors, but if they do, the CPC has to be on it. So yeah, that hasn't come up yet though, obviously.
But yeah, I'm just saying if we changed our procedures to require a permanent signage.
Yep, I think you could do it from the administrative expenses, or you could be telling people up front to build that into your budgets when you apply.
Okay.
Right.
Nice.
At one point we were like, oh, we should make everybody get a little like disc that says like, you know, this project, right? Some sort of little thing like that, you know, this project, you know, partially funded by CPC in X, Y, and Z year. And it would be like either embedded in the concrete or on the side of the wall of the project, or, you know, nearby the thing or wherever else there was a sign. But you know, I don't think we necessarily went forward with that.
Well, we can bring it up. I do want to talk about this. It is on the agenda for April. So people should think about it now, and we can really have a really, extensive conversation on it, on what we want to do.
Cool.
Anything else around the budget itself? The numbers, the fact that we have 30% for community housing, which is different than what we're required to do by law, just so everybody knows. We're required to do 10% absolute commitment. We have chosen last year to do 30%. Obviously, that's continuing in this budget. Is that okay with everybody?
I think it's only fair, given the need, it's a demonstrated need at this point.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're all clear on it.
Sorry. My only suggestion would be, I don't know if anyone would want to do this, but we could up it even more. We could do 50% community housing, 10% others, just because housing's so expensive and it's everyone's like highest priority when they, respond to our surveys and things like that. Just throwing it out there that is a possibility.
Yeah, my inclination on that is no, just because we have the freedom to throw as much as we want at it from the flexible funding. And I don't feel like the 10% for open space and historic resources is excessive. So, if we just did the minimum on open space and historic resources, then we could throw the rest of it at housing. I just don't want to lock ourselves into something. That's my take on it.
Especially when we don't know what applications will surface.
Yeah, like this year there
say.
actually weren't that many in the housing, or right? There was only
There was six.
There were six, and we lost one.
Dollar wise, they were.
Dollar wise, they weren't huge this time.
right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if it feels like it's worth keeping it flexible, right? Yes, housing is expensive. Also, we're frankly small potatoes in right? If we put 100% into housing, we could build like one unit of something,
Maybe.
maybe.
Yeah, and I don't want to discourage people to have big ideas in other categories.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments on these numbers? Okay, seeing a lot of shaking heads, I would entertain a motion to accept the plan as written up there.
I think we already have a motion, don't we?
I thought I mentioned.
Oh, good. I'm glad, it's hard for me to follow. Okay, then we'll go to a vote. Okay. Donna,
Yes.
Wisty,
Yes?
Garth,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Becky,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay. Moving on to old business. Do we have anything for either fiscal 2003 or 2004?
Let's see, the Agriculture Society barn rehab has been done for quite a while, but as we know, the historic preservation restriction is making its way through the process. That should be going before city council pretty soon. I haven't heard anything from the mayor's office, but I submitted it to them, so it should be pretty shortly. The Historical Society, for their document preservation project is getting pretty close to being done. They just submitted a reimbursement request for all the materials that they purchased in order to make the project happen. So I processed that this week. The reason why that one is went a little bit longer than expected was the building doesn't have very sufficient heating during the winter, so they weren't able to really encourage volunteers to be in there in the cold. So now that it's warming up, it's much easier for them to work on it. I've not heard anything from the Museum of Art and Industrial Heritage, but I should soon for their quarterly report. The clinical support options picked up their banner, this big CPC banner. So that'll be displayed alongside. They're also doing a temporary sign that lists all the funders, and that includes the city of Greenfield. Haven't heard anything from Christy on either of those outside of meetings. Let's see.
How long are they supposed to display the banners?
It'll be up throughout until the project is complete.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yep. Otherwise, don't think I've heard anything on the 24 projects. A lot of these are contingent on the nice weather, so hopefully lots of updates.
Okay. Just
Is
a quick,
the mapping, like the Highland Park mapping thing from the first year still going on?
the trail restoration?
I can speak to that a little bit. So we did receive some money from Capital, and we have been working with the FERCog to establish the map, and then also recreation commissioners have been asked to sort of go out and look at the trails and try to figure out, which ones are appropriate for bikes and which ones are appropriate for just walking. There's some conversation about, do we not even try to make some just walking and let bikes on all of them, because the bikes are probably going to go on all of them anyway. And so that's where it is. It's moving along, but it's slow. And the same with the improvements, the BOAS, Kim BOAS improvements.
Mhm.
That has been a challenge with getting all of the permitting for conservation and species protection. And I think that it's been sort of hanging up at the state. And then, of course, it also relies on AmeriCorps volunteers who have a certain time frame, and it's just the I would say timing of these things is timing and bureaucracy is what makes things really, really slow. And then by the time one domino falls, it seems like another one's just popped back up.
I understand.
Well, the mapping was originally a FERCog thing, right?
Yeah, and it still is. But there was some money my understanding is that there was some money that came from Capital last year, it looks like nothing's coming from capital this year. Because things are so tight. I'd have to review my rec commission files. I feel like I should know this. I'm at all the meetings and then it seems like it just whoosh, goes out of my head. I can't blame our recreation director for not telling me, so I gotta take ownership of me not remembering. But I can tell you that we'll continue to chip away at it.
Okay, I should mention that if you drive past down Wells Street, the construction on the CSO project is moving along. And it's really nice. I expect that we will have people moving into apartments in spring 2026.
Wow.
So, it's moving.
Yeah.
It's moving. Okay. So anything more on that? If Donna finds a nugget of great information that she wants to throw out, we can do that. But you're not going to do that now. Okay. So for the next meeting, if there's something that you've got, that would be great. Okay. With that, I would entertain, the next meeting will be on April 24th.
Great.
So we're going back to our regular monthly schedule. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, we've got Garth, a motion from Garth and a second from Donna. I don't think we need to go through this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're good. Thank you all very, very much. This was a lot of meetings and a lot of hard work, and I truly appreciate everything that everyone's done.